one of the things that we're sort of missing here is blockchain, decentralized networks. They solve the ability to maintain freedom of speech.
Yeah.
But freedom of speech is inherently a United States thing.
True.
And so,
Well,
how in a completely decentralized network, let's say Twitter is like a decentralized Twitter is a global thing, right? What decisions do you make in its design to facilitate freedom of speech when some cultures don't agree with that?
mm-hmm.
Like, how do you decide that freedom of speech is a thing that all humans should have in this completely decentralized social media network? and then what other metrics should, humanity have, along with freedom of speech? Like, how do you decide those things?
Yeah, basically, you so the reason why we can't apply freedom of speech to the existing Twitter sphere, right, is because, like you said, you're identifying it as it's an American constitutional right? So not all users of Twitter are American constitutionalists, don't expect that same freedoms, right? So first we'd have to establish, again, it comes down to, I think DAOs are going to have to form much more mature forms of governance. That means you're going to have constitutional level agreements among the participants within these ecosystems. Dude, that's what nations are. Countries, they're just ecosystems. Yeah. That the participants within agree upon, we're all aligned to produce value within our own ecosystem. We're going to leverage all the resources that exist within the frameworks, the borders of our ecosystem, and we're going to govern ourselves, by electing officials, doing all these activities to make sure we have the right representation, the right people within the ecosystem are making the best decisions.
You mentioned democracy as by default. How do we know that that's the best method of governance? In one digital, decentralized, distributed ecosystem, whatever we call it, might feel one certain way than another. Yeah. So one might not value freedom of speech as much as another. Yeah, right? So that's what I was going to say is I think you're alluding to, you might have a decentralized Twitter that values freedom of speech and everybody can say anything they want. Yeah. And then there's another competing social media network that doesn't value freedom of speech. It's more about controlling, whatever they want to control. And there's going to be a community for that.
Yeah. So then at the end of the point, or at the end of the day, see, that's the thing.
It's the competing ideologies. Yeah. Competing ideologies become communities and therefore networks. Yeah. And
it might be one of the reasons why nothing will be able to outcompete something like Twitter, just because it's a ubiquitous utility of the internet. And if we all of a sudden inject tribalistic ideals, this Twitter of mine that I support is this way. Here's another Twitter-esque, providing similar utility to the web infrastructure, but they all have different ideologies, different rights for their users, stuff like that. Now you're fragmenting that utility. So
so you will never have
something as useful as an actual global platform, right? So
man, that's tough.
It is tough.
Yeah,
but there could be consensus, dude, this one is just the best. It has the right, foundational governance to it. It has the most
network effect.
Yeah, network effect.
Everybody's already on it.
Yeah, I mean, it could happen. It's possible.